Hello. In this video, you will learn how to configure patron-initiated requests for FirstSearch. Patron-initiated requests in FirstSearch allow your patrons to search and identify items to initiate an ILL request without the assistance or mediation of your library staff. Patron-initiated requests empower library users by letting them participate in the request process. This means that library staff spend less time searching for and submitting requests on behalf of the users. This is especially beneficial if your library has a larger volume of ILL requests. The ILL request process consists of two parts: initiation and mediation. WorldShare ILL supports different combinations of these processes. Staff-initiated and staff-mediated requests are searched for, submitted, and processed directly in the WorldShare interface. Patron-initiated and staff-mediated requests are submitted through a patron request form from FirstSearch or WorldCat Discovery, reviewed by staff, and then processed in the WorldShare interface. Patron-initiated and unmediated requests are submitted by patrons, then reviewed through a direct request profile and automatically sent to lenders without staff intervention. In this video, we will focus on the patron-initiated staff-mediated method of processing requests. The major steps in the workflow for a patron-initiated, staff-mediated request are as follows. To begin, the patron searches WorldCat to find an item. Next, they make the request through a request button or link. In the third step, the patron completes and submits a patron request form. Once the request is submitted, the system routes the request to the borrowing library's WorldShare ILL new to review queue. From there, the borrowing library can verify the information on the request, choose the lending libraries to route the request to, then send the request. The lending library will review and answer the request. To enable patron-initiated ILL requesting, the following will need configured. ILL access, which lets you control whether your patrons can submit ILL requests while using FirstSearch. ILL button display option, which allows you to decide when to display a request button and the request form link text. ILL settings for databases and WorldCat ILL access, which allows you to decide which databases and document types patrons can submit requests for while using FirstSearch. Patron request form, which lets you customize the FirstSearch request form for your patrons. IP authentication, which allows you to verify, add, or delete your IP address for authentication in FirstSearch. The first step is to turn on ILL access for FirstSearch. Begin by signing into the FirstSearch administration module at firstsearch.oclc.org/admin with your 9-digit administration authorization and password. Click on the Resource Sharing tab. Then on the left side menu, select ILL Processing under Patron ILL Settings. Click the box next to ILL Access to turn it on. Then click on Save Changes. Once ILL Access is enabled in the admin module, FirstSearch will display both a link and a button for patrons to click on and access the patron request form. This is also configured under Resource Sharing, then Patron ILL Settings under the ILL Processing menu. Select if you want the ILL button to always display or to only display on items not owned by your library. Then enter your desired ILL request form link text in the space provided. You can choose the databases from which patrons can submit requests in the Patron ILL settings area as well. Here you will select the method or methods used to process the request for each database. Then click on Save Changes. Next, choose the drop-down WorldCat ILL Access under the Resource Sharing tab, then Patron ILL Settings. Here you can select the WorldCat document types that your institution's FirstSearch patrons can request. Click on Save Changes. Here you see an example search result for an individual record. The ILL button is at the top and the link is at the bottom. The text matches what you entered in the admin module. Clicking on either the button or the link will take a patron to the patron request form. Here is an example of the patron request form in FirstSearch. Libraries can configure this form as needed within the admin module. To configure your library's patron request form in the admin module, under Resource Sharing, Select Patron ILL Request Form from the Patron ILL Settings options. You can define which fields will be required fields, which ones will be displayed to patrons, and which ones can be modified by patrons. Be sure to save your changes. It is also necessary to verify and configure your patrons' access. From the FirstSearch admin module, click the Authentication Access tab, then click IP Address Recognition. Type the IP address in the boxes within the IP address section. Click the Add button. Click the Save Changes button. Repeat for additional IP addresses. If you need to delete an IP address, click to highlight, then click the Delete button. Click the Save Changes button. If you need assistance or have questions, visit help.oclc.org to obtain documentation, training, and information about how to contact OCLC support in your region. Thank you for your attention.